again. Okay, yay. Um, this show is amazing. You don't even need me to say that. The feedback from like the audience has been so positive, and we're finally getting a part 2, which we waited for so long. I'm so happy. Your character, Arianna, there's a lot of different layers that's with her. It comes across that she's really offensive. She's telling these jokes, but also there's the insecurity. And then for me, that last episode that you guys filmed when you was in the car talking about being adopted and how certain things are just meant to be. That I think revealed so much about the character without saying or doing so much.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that scene I was really happy for because you got to see her heart there with that monologue. You got to see where she came from. And I think the audience got to really understand all of her outrageous behavior and know that know that it comes from somewhere deep.
Correct. And I just love the fact that, for season 2, we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but can you say whether or not that experience in the car will have an impact in the next part 2?
Part 2, I think so. We get to see we get to see Arianna's home life a little bit more. We get to see her at school. And we get to see her with DNA a lot. But we definitely get to see a lot of her vulnerability more in part 2, which I'm excited for the audience to see. But we definitely get a little more of her, and we get to see her on a deeper level.
Right. Now, do you feel that she's angry at her adoptive dads, or is it her birth mother?
I think, she's probably kept all of that. She probably kept all of that in the back of her head. When you go through traumatic experiences and when you go through things, you don't really talk about it. You don't really think about it much. And I think that scene in the car is probably the first time she spoke about that out loud to someone. So I think, that definitely opens up a whole entire world after she says that out loud and she confides in her sister. So I feel like, definitely it's something that she struggled with, and it's probably something she doesn't really understand, but she loves her dads now and she's happy with the life that she has.
In the trailer, we got to see that there might be a revisit of the relationship. We don't really know. There was like a quick moment where there was maybe a little hookup or a will you be my date again? We don't really know, but can you tease any of the romances with Arianna?
Can I tease anything? Well, I think what I will say is that she gets her heart broken again in part 2. Like, can she have a break? I don't think she can. Mega heartbreak for Arianna.
We need some happiness for her.
I know.
What overall with the first season, what would you have said that her growth has been from the first episode to episode 8? Has she kind of learned from any of what happened within those episodes for part 2?
Yes, I think definitely the entire baby sequence, she learned how important sisterhood is and how important having just her friends around and that female energy, because I feel like she doesn't usually get that at home. So she definitely craves that sisterhood.
Right.
And I think that definitely travels into part 2.
Right. Now, I do love that there's that friendship that you guys tend to stick together. And even with that whole baby thing, it's really hard, to have friends who's right there without any judgment. What are you going to do? We stand for you. Figure it out, though. But I was wondering, with this whole season, what would you say is the most important quality about Arianna that has stayed steadfast throughout?
Well, I think that you know, we see a lot of her moments where a lot of her outrageous behavior, a lot of her comedy that she says is edgy. But I think one of the most important qualities that she has is her heart. You get to see that with her sticking up for her friends. But I think that is something that, you know, she doesn't just bring out for anyone. And I think she holds her heart really close, and she has a wall up most of the time. So I think her heart is something that it's definitely one of her most important qualities.
What would you say is her least best quality?
You know, I don't judge the characters that I
Right.
play. I can't, like, I just can't, because I can't think about like her bad qualities. Even though, you know, sometimes I read things and I'm like, oh my God, here we go again, Arianna. But I try not to judge the characters I play.
Right. Now, this is an ensemble. Is there a particular actress or actor that you would love to have a scene with?
Oh man. I think Marwan, he plays the character Bo, and he does such an amazing job playing Bo. And we will get to see him more in part 2, but I think the nuance that he brings to that character is just chef kiss. So I would love to see, it's an odd pairing, but I would love to see Arianna and Bo have some scenes together.
But it works though.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would work. No. So with this whole show, what does Arianna mean to you?
Well, Arianna, she holds a very, like, I love that girl. Because she's so, you know, like when I first got this role, I prepared a playlist, I prepared a journal for her, and I just write in character throughout the whole entire journal. And I go back and I look at it once in a while, especially now that we've done filming, and I just remember all the special moments throughout the season, and it warms my heart. But for me, Arianna she's very strong, and she's not your stereotypical character. You know, she has a lot of layers and depth, and I think that means a lot to me, playing a character like that.
Right. Now, you said you created playlists. I was wondering if you could pick a song to accurately describe Arianna for part 2. What would you pick?
I feel like it's not much because of the words. It's just the feeling that this song gives me. And I think Elton John, Yellow Brick Road. It's such a song that, like, every time I play it, it touched my soul. I don't even care what the words are, just like the melody and the simplicity, and it has a touching nature to that song. So I think that song definitely sums up the emotions I feel for Arianna in part 2.
Right. So you said that you're a kind of actress who you write the diaries, you create the song list. Are you someone who's able to walk away from a character once it's done and over with?
Yes. I think that's partially why I create journals and playlists, because those, you know, and also prompts. Like, I remember writing a prompt right before I delivered the monologue in the car. And I just use those to be able to jump into the character and then jump out. You know, of course, there's things like still that I do, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't get her out of me. But I try to definitely separate the actor me from Arianna.
Right. Now, as an actress, what would you said is the best lesson that you learned, either through your career or just studying a character in general, when it came to generation?
Definitely preparation. I think preparation is very important. Also, like, just that prep right before getting into a scene does a lot. And even though I didn't have to do much, because the wardrobe and the setting and everyone down to the crew made it so easy to just jump into that world, I think preparation for me is like key, because if I don't do that, I wouldn't be able to work.
Now, there are a lot of different storylines that is going on in the show. Is there a particular storyline that you would just love to watch and is excited to see for part 2? I think, have you seen part 2?
No, I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, no, but I think I'm really excited to see Chester's storyline. I won't give too much away, but he goes through a lot in part 2. That's definitely like pulls at the heartstrings. So I think definitely, and then Justice's performance, like he's just an amazing actor. So I think Chester's storyline for sure. And of course, Riley and Greta, of course. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, for part 2, I'm trying to get as much as I can from you out of part 2. But for part 2, is there a particular, not to spoil anything, but is there a particular character arc, including yours, that you are excited for fans to see? Not to say if there's any surprises, but you know, is there something that really excited you when you was reading it and you started to film it, a particular episode?
Yes, I think we see all the characters come together in one setting.
Oh.
And it is intense and it's messy and it's fun at the same time. So I think that I'm so excited for the audience to see. I think that they'll love that.
So what I was wondering, what has playing Arianna gave you as a person? What has she given to you?
You know, I'm more of reserved and not as like loud and as Arianna. So I think she's taught me to be a little more fearless and a little more outspoken, and just, you know, sometimes you got to be a little spicy, you know. So I think she gave me some spice a little bit.
Will we see kind of a softer side, maybe less of the harsh jokes and the harshness to her?
Yes, I think in part 2 we get to actually see her without the jokes, the outrageous behavior, and without that wall that she puts up.
Do you feel that the wall that she puts up is a facade to protect her because she's adopted, or because of any other experience that we haven't touched upon?
Yeah, I think I think Arianna went through a lot in part 2. I mean, like, I think the relationship with Nathan was a lot for her, like that heartbreak, even though she claims that she like is over it and doesn't care. I think no. No. I think that definitely being adopted, and like I think she craves having female energy around, which we definitely like see that in part 2. And I think also, you know, the jokes, I think she's low-key preparing for like a stand-up comedy. I think she's like you know, testing her jokes out all the time, but I think she definitely puts up a wall, but it gets fully taken down in part 2. Like that wall is fully taken down. We get to see her for who she really is in part 2.
Oh, do you think will we see a moment of happiness? Because a lot has kind of happened with her.
Yeah. That girl she goes through a lot. I mean, part 2, she goes through a lot.
Right.
She goes through a lot. I don't think there's any happiness for her in part 2. No, sadly.
Oh dear. So
maybe for a second, we see the happiness for a second, and then it gets ripped away.
Oh God. Yeah. Good Lord.
I know.
As you as an actress, if you could sit down with her, Arianna, and sit down as you, Nathanya, Nathanya.
Yes.
Sorry. What advice would you give her?
I would say, Arianna, Miss Girl, you can just relax, and be yourself. You are loved, you are cared for, and you never ever have to pull a wall up. And that's what I would say to her.
I like that. How would you describe Arianna's perfect day?
Arianna would get into a lot of craziness on her favorite day contains marijuana, her best friends, and a movie. And yeah, I think she's pretty simple. I know she loves going to the mall, so maybe that as well. Yeah, and I think her ultimate dream day would be to be an actress in something. Somewhere to put all of that energy.
She has the energy and the personality.
And the personality. Yeah.
There has been a lot of fan feedback that has just been positive. It's a show that represents them, and it feels like it's one of those for us, by us kind of shows where it represents everyone and no one is boxed into a stereotype.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We live in a time where people are being their true authentic selves, and I feel like our show definitely urges people to do so. I think the younger viewers will appreciate how true to life the show feels, and they will feel seen and represented for sure. And then our older viewers will definitely gain insight on the realities of modern teen life.
Right. And then there's like the moments like, yeah, I remember that feeling when I was a kid too. They finally got that down. I couldn't say that, but yes, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, Dana, I'm just keeping an eye on the time. And Nathanya has time for one final question.
Oh, okay. So for part 2, if you could just for 3 words you could use to describe it, what would you say?
Messy, dramatic, and fun.
I like that very much. Thank you so much for speaking with me. I look forward to more of the episodes. I look forward to the season. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
No
Have
problem.
a good one.
You too.